Welcome to So You Think You Can Write, where we give serious writing critique without taking ourselves too seriously. My name is Randy Lindsay, and with me here today is
Booher.
Janette, Rallison.
Adrienne, Quintana.
And this is how the show works. We have a first page submission, which
I'm going to read it.
Adrienne's going to be
I'm
reading
going to
it.
try.
And the rest of us are going to buzz it if we think an agent or editor would stop reading.
We love these. It's fun.
You should have these at home. You should, in fact, what you should do is you should have one while you're watching the show.
I bet you sales of these have gone up on
And
Amazon.
buzz us if you disagree.
Yeah, that's right. Multiple
Yes,
times.
send us a video of you buzzing us. That would be good.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, okay, so today we have a title, or the title of this is Destiny Unknown. Anna, it's time. I hear the familiar Scottish brogue of Jannie, the asylum's housekeeper. She holds this title, but really wears many more hats than that. She's been our favorite faithful cook, maid, teacher, and honorary den mother since before I came to Les Chabonnaises. I've heard the story a million times. I was brought here after my parents died in a terrible accident when I was about 3.
Well, we're doing backstory. What paragraph is that?
First.
First. Okay, we're in the first paragraph and we're doing backstory. I actually want to know what's going on now before I care what happened before. So.
Good.
And I want to hear you do a Scottish brogue. Just saying.
I don't
Right.
know, but then I'm confused because I had a Scottish brogue, but then we had a French, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, not much else is known of my history. As far as I know, I have no living relatives, no past, and no future. Les Chabonnaises is the only home I've ever had. Its inhabitants the only family I've ever known. Even this place has more of a story than I. No one seems to know the original origins.
Okay, I'm gonna buzz it for the same reason that Randy did, is that we're just still getting more backstory, so we like lost Anna.
Nothing's happened.
Yeah, so I mean, this is probably important to get the backstory out, but you're gonna want to show us Anna and what she's doing and what her problems are, and then give the information about this really interesting place she's living and her interesting backstory, kind of as they become relevant in the story. Don't just put them all on the first page.
Okay. No one seems to know the original origins of the building, but it served as a house, or served to house Jewish refugees during the Nazi infiltration of France. Since that time, private benefactors have purchased the estate and converted it into an asylum for orphan children. I have often roamed its halls and marveled at the unique history surrounding this place. For a moment, I'm transported to a time in which fear dominated the world's climate and children were forced to shoulder the burden of adults to survive.
Okay, I'm totally confused now because I'm just like I was in an asylum that used to be for kids with the Nazi. Now I'm in like a climate change. So it's jarring to me, that first sentence. I'm confused. So
Okay.
I would stop reading at that point.
I sigh as I remember that this is still true for many today. As I have 1,000 times before, I run my hand gently over the intricate detail of the hand-carved mahogany mantel of the dining room's fireplace. How many meals have I passed at this very table? The memories of whispered conversations and girlish giggles fill my thoughts as I continue into the long corridor toward the chateau's front entryway. The walls, once painted a bright white, have now faded into more of a cream color. These walls proudly display a decade's worth of portraits of children, headmasters, and other figures who have contributed to the history of Les Chabonnaises.
Wow, it seems like the book's more about Les Chabonnaises than about the main
Yeah.
character, and that it's not going anywhere. I don't know what the main character wants. I'm a little confused. So I mean, this sounds interesting in terms of like a backstory, but it just doesn't seem to be moving for me.
Okay, okay, so the opening line is Anna, it's time.
Exclamation point.
For what?
For what?
Okay, that's my point.
Right.
Anna, it's time. That got my interest. Okay.
We don't know who's saying that.
But now we don't know what is time for and whether. I feel that probably the fix for this first page is to follow through with whatever it's time for. That will probably tell us setting, possibly goal, give us a better idea of character. All of that will stem from following that line as opposed to the backstory.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting because I get the impression, and I don't know, that Anna is maybe leaving this place. She's very sentimental about everything and telling us all about the people that she's lived for however long she's lived there. But
So you could do that in one, and it's time to go.
Yeah.
And maybe the main character says, I didn't want to leave the only place I'd ever known.
See,
Yeah.
much more engaging, right? Because then we have
And then you move on to the what's next.
yeah, I think it's important to get a really strong sense of setting in the first page, but that's kind of all we got here is the setting. Not so much about the character. I mean, we got some of her backstory, but we don't know what she wants or who she is.
Or what her problem is, or what the conflict is. Is this just another day? Like she's being called for dinner and, nothing's happening on this plate. Well, we don't know. So we need some sort of sense of a problem, conflict, tension, something.
Yeah, and I mean, setting's more than just where you're at too, because this was confusing. I think when Brock buzzed it, were you confused about the time period?
Yeah, it almost sounds like post-apocalyptic, like the world's climate has changed, but I don't mean if that means the actual climate or the world environment, meaning like the climate that children live in, not the actual climate, but the environment that
Yeah.
they live in. I don't
Well, and
was
is that
confused.
talking about, is it talking about the children during the Nazi infiltration still? She's talking about what happened in the previous paragraph, or is she talking about something different? That's confusing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what time period we were in when she was. I don't know, just because we were talking about the Jewish refugees, I imagined this like 10 years after World War II, and it probably wasn't. It was probably present day. I'm
The
guessing.
most interesting question for me in the whole story so far is what's a Scottish lady doing in the middle of France in an asylum? But just saying.
Yeah. Oh, and also, because I would be remiss if I didn't say this, in the last paragraph you have the word "as" 4 times. So as I
As
have
if.
become
Oh.
the as police,
There you go.
I would.
Jeanette, we should call you that as Nazi for this one because
yeah, as Nazi.
As-
Actually, I think the
Be careful with that phrase.
no soup for you. Oh
What
yeah,
else?
that's not very good. Never mind.
I'm going to recommend the book Self-Editing for the Fiction Writer again, and I recommend this book so many times that I feel like they should give me kickbacks or something, but it has a whole chapter on why you shouldn't overuse the word as and how to use it correctly, and so yeah, read that book.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Well, shall we vote?
Let's
Want me to
vote.
start?
Yes, please.
I'm going to give this a right. The backstory is interesting. Some of the characters seem interesting. There's something about to happen. I wish I knew what. But this needs to be rewritten, this page, for it to work for me. So I'm going to give it a right. Recommend that you go and look at your story a little bit more deeply and figure out how to make it move a little bit more quickly.
I'm going to give it a right. Just way too much backstory. We need to know more about the character and what she's doing and why she's doing it, and the setting as far as genre. I mean, obviously it's after World War II, but I'd like to have a little bit better sense of what community or culture that we're dealing with, as opposed to, I just don't know. I don't know enough about it to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered if this was a real place, because it sounds really interesting, or whether the author made it up. But really interesting setting. But let's get to the character and the what she's doing first. So I'm just echoing what everybody else is saying. So yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a right too. I think there's probably something interesting that comes after this, but I'm guessing that your setting is not the main character, so I would focus more on the problem. I mean, I think the one line that you did give us that really makes me curious is that she has no living relatives, no past, and no future. Why did you say she has no future? That's what I want to know more about.
That'd be
Like,
nice to
why?
follow up on that.
Focus on that. Don't give us so much of the setting. You can give us the setting. Like if she's going to be exploring the house, give us some tension about that, and maybe make it a little bit later. Have something else happening first.
Right.
Okay, so that's what we thought about it. Did we get it right? Feel free to leave some comments and let us know what you thought about this episode. I'm sorry, this submission, and
Tell
our
us what you
views
think
on it.
about our setting. Do you like our library? What books are
Do you like Adrienne Scott?
Are we in the library
Yeah.
today?
Are you wondering how many brown shirts I have?
I'm running out of black shirts, to be
They
honest.
told us to wear dark colors because
Otherwise, you blend into the library.
Oh, see, here we go, just talking about setting again.
That's
There we go.
right.
See how boring it is.
And the horrible thing is that I don't know what shirts look good on me until after it's out and I see it on YouTube and go, oh, that shirt, no, I need to get rid of that. So We'll see if
It's
this
the
is-
ultimate feedback. Start your own YouTube show.
that's right. You can critique my clothing in the comments.
There we go. So, until next time, get ready.
Get set.
Right.